One of the things that the web did for small businesses is it gave them an even playing field. And I'd love to have AI do that for small businesses as well. I don't know how that works out, and I can't obviously predict the future, but that's what I would love for it to do.
Welcome to the AI Advantage, where modern leaders decode the future of tech. I'm Solomon Williams, founder of Solanox. So here, it's no noise, no hype every week. Sometimes it's just me, and sometimes it's the brightest minds in tech, breaking down what it really takes to grow smarter with AI and automation. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Solomon Williams. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a special guest. We have Jesse McCabe. He's the co-founder and CEO of Solid Digital. So Jesse, thanks so much for coming on to the show. Love to have you. Can just introduce yourself to the audience. Let us know who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you. Yeah. Who am I? Whoa, that's a tough question. I guess I found my passion in technology at an early age. So around, 8 years old, which, back then was pretty young. Now everybody's got tech by the time they're 2, but we actually had a computer and we were one of the first families just because my dad did electronics repair. And I just really fell in love with being able to program and make computers do things. That was the initial thing. I used to get these Mad Magazine used to have these printouts on the back that you could just type in a program and it would do something. It could play a game or it would draw something on your screen. And that's kind of where I got started. And so I knew at an early age that I wanted to be in tech. And, I went to school for it. I kind of found that I didn't fit in with the rest of the computer science engineers that were at my school at the time, even though the web was blowing up at that point. And, I really looked at, after I got out of college, I kind of bounced around. I worked at a hosting company. I worked at a startup company, but then it wasn't until I started working at agencies that I really fell in love with the whole idea of how does marketing and creative and tech all mix together to, improve brands, improve organizations, whether it's, actual transactions in e-commerce or if it's just representing the brand the right way or, doing little things. So, and at some point along the way, I decided I thought I could do it just as well as anybody else. And so, yeah, we're in our 19th year now at Solid Digital. And yeah, I still love what I do. It's awesome.
That's so great, man. It's really having it to where, having the love for it. So just to have our audience to know. So Solid Digital, what is, I know you help with web design, but tell us a little bit more, what you do, what you, focus in on and help.
Yeah. So it is a web design agency for all intents and purposes. But, I do think with both me and my co-founders tech background, we have this built into our DNA of how do we leverage marketing tech stacks or other tools. I mean, AI has been a great thing for us. We just are, excited about how we can incorporate it. We're not scared of it. We're not, and how, I guess the differentiator for me is we kind of run it in a way where it's both engineering and creative versus just kind of creative and move on. But then beyond that too is I kind of take a scientific approach to marketing. And so for me, the way that we engage with our team, with our marketing teams after we build their website is kind of more scientific. We test things out. We see how they work. If they don't work, we kind of throw them out. If they do work, we, keep doing it. And it allows us to be agile and it allows us to leverage new ways of doing things because literally every week there's new stuff coming out.
Yeah. So I like where you had it to where you look at marketing on a scientific basis. So did you always have that piece of when you kind of came in, when you when you and your co-founder said, this is what we want to provide to our clients and business, is that something you just knew off the top from just your previous experience, or did you kind of grow into that and learn all that? I'm curious on that.
I think it's a bit of a human flaw that I have where I don't necessarily want to do what everybody else is doing. And I don't think that's always a good thing. Like sometimes it's just like, hey, this is a proven model that works. Just do it. And sometimes I wish I would apply that more. And because what happens is like, I'll be like, oh, well, I could do this different. It's going to be completely unique and nobody else is going to ever have seen this before. And then I realized, nope, that's hard and it's not working. And now we need to like pull back. And then we end up being and conforming a little bit more to like what the norm is when it comes to the things that we do. So I would say, but at the same time, like that's my default. My default is like, well, what could we do different? What would be unique? And then like as I'm getting older, I'm trying to like pull myself back from being too too unique and too different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, as you said, I think that it's like, again, it seems like to your strength of it because of you thinking more outside the box on that abstract side, and you're able to really take in like what is so from what I'm understanding is really you really take in and really notice like what are the key pieces, what's the vision of what your clients are, and you're able to communicate that into their website and so forth. That's if I'm tracking right.
Or
Okay.
yeah, like what kind of content they're creating, what kind of tools they're leveraging, like if there's interactive things that we can build on the site that are going to make people stick around longer, that type of stuff. Like, I think there's been a lot that's changed in my career. When I first started, websites were, a special thing. Like not every brand had them. And the ones that did could spend a lot of money and they were spending a ton of money. I remember the first like $1 million website that I was working on for Sony. Like they were highly, highly interactive. So you never really got like these kind of like brochure websites that we see all the time now for brands where it was like there was a lot of interactivity on it. And I think we've veered really far away from that. I mean, I think like we've gotten to the point and my hope, my optimistic kind of outlook for the future is that we actually get back to having more interactivity on our websites and we do more things there that maybe help people or help our users and potential customers to find what they're looking for without just, throwing up content and letting it go. And I think like that's going to be a differentiator for brands.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, with the differentiator and what you're kind of seeing in the market, like how I know you've talked about with AI being a big piece, like how does that now just because now with search engine optimizations and everything, now they utilize the AI for the summaries and keeping that
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about like for folks and for other founders and people that are listening on the call, like what they should kind of take in to be aware of. What advice can you give of like when they're going forward on websites, what they need to be thinking more for now because of AI is now being implemented?
Well, it's crazy because like what we're seeing, it's like there's two different things happening at the same time. One is that AI still cares a lot about relevant content, which is something that we've been preaching for a long time, right? Just, since Google got smart enough to like, filter out the people who are doing like tricks and trying to like gamify or use the wrong word, but like, all the SEO things that we used to do on our sites, like those don't necessarily work anymore. Like Google doesn't even look at meta description. So like all of those things are still important because AI cares about the content that's on your site. But then it's not sending the users to your site anymore. So Google, they used to like say, oh, here's a good place to go to find that content. Now AI is like, here's the content. I might give you a reference, but I'm not even going to tell you to like go there. It's just like, this is what they're saying. And so at the same time of like that abstraction of our content on our sites, we still need a way to engage users when they visit our site. So like what I'm telling my clients is like, you still got to create the content, but you got to like also start to assume that maybe that content isn't really going to drive users to your site as much. Maybe they're down the funnel more. Maybe they've already decided that you're one of the top 5 potential, vendors that they're going to buy. Right.
Yep.
So now, like, let's think about like, all right, well, if they're already at that point, I don't have to woo them anymore. Like, let's just get into like, what's your problem and how do we help you solve it? And like, how can I prove that to you in this engagement? I don't know. I think it's a cool challenge, and it's like going to break the kind of like monotonous content that we're seeing on all the websites. And I don't know. I think it's a good position for us to be in. Like, we're strong with engineering. We're utilizing AI as much as possible, and we still care a lot about how the brand is presented and the content that's created. So
Yeah. And so with that on the side, do you see that like in the next coming years, that's going to be a focal point? Do you see that it's going to more? And so I'm curious on, as you've seen with clients and as you've continued to like play around your engineering team on, trying these new tools out as AI is advancing, what do you think you'll see in the market specifically with the website design?
I think you're going to see more brands putting stuff right up in front. Like I saw like another agency that's like focused on like restaurants, where they were just like, tell us your zip code of your restaurant and we'll tell you how much more money we're going to make for you this year. And then it was like kind of like a wizard calculator to get to that point. And that's their homepage. Like, and they do have some tech, but it's mostly just a service based organization. So if we like go to where, the typical kind of like e-commerce cart or wizard kind of like interactive elements that are on a website, and start to think like, well, even if I have a service based business, maybe I need to like kind of create a more transactional experience on my site. Like, I think that's where it's going to go personally.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, as it's going forward, well, like what have you seen that's really been really working well with Solid Digital now that it's been adding in that you're seeing on this side? Like what's really been working with you guys?
I think simplicity has been working. Again, like going back to like where AI is already kind of giving the user a little bit more, or not AI, I shouldn't say AI, like the search engines are giving you more of the content that is on your site before you get there. So I think like keeping things simple is really important. Like I've been saying this forever. Like, I hate how much garbage nav we put on our sites. And like, this is to where, it's like the struggle we have with some of our clients is just like, they want to put everything out there. And if you think about it as like a menu, right? Like if you go to a deli that has like a huge menu, like got like 100 different things on it, it's so hard to make a decision on where to go next. But if you have a menu where it's only a few different items, like In-N-Out burger menu, like you only have a few options and you can make those options quickly. So I think that is really important. But again, I wouldn't say that our clients are necessarily adopting this right now, but like I am pushing for more interactive technology built into our brand sites.
Yeah. And I think like you made a good point on it, because you get so lost. I kind of think it back to, I'm a millennial, like of coming back, but like now with Netflix and with Hulu, there's just there's so much to choose from. I don't even know. And I appreciate sometimes I go back like on Spectrum or go to live TV where I can just look and I can just find a TV show. Like, for example, like there was the Fast and Furious, like the first one. I wouldn't even know on Netflix to choose one, but now that it's available and it's a short amount, I'd be like, oh, let me check that out. So I think from your point on, it's there's so much you want to kind of bringing it down to a menu for that. And so why do you think that's the case of clients? I can imagine because they want to make sure they insinuate everything to their guests, to their consumers of what they do. So how do you move through, just from your experience, Jesse, on like letting them know like, hey, let's just keep it down to the services? Like, how do you educate them on that to help them like this is more for you?
Well, I use that analogy of the menu all the time to try to like get them to kind of understand what's going on. But, I think savvy marketers and most of our brand like marketing teams, like they're pretty savvy. They know it. It's more of just like the other stakeholders in the company, CEO and those guys, like they don't want their visitors to miss anything. It's like this like lowest common denominator approach to like the content on your site. It's like, no, we have to have history because they care about our history. Well, no, you care about the history. They care about their problems. Like if we can like kind of like frame like what we're trying to what is in the head of the visitor and think about like, yeah, they're here because they have a problem and they're trying to solve it. And the way that you get their business is by giving them the insight to show that you know and understand what is going on in their head and that you actually have a solution for it. And it's a simple solution. Here it is, right? Like, I won't say that the about and leadership isn't an important thing at some point, but it's not. It's to me, it's not a top level nav like thing that needs to be there. I'm kind of like saying that, but like,
No, I understand.
About us is on our website, like at the top, but it's a little bit different for our industry because, it is about the people that are going to be working on your site. But like, if you're a product widget seller kind of company, I don't know how that plays a part into it. So again, if you're like trying to like scrunch your menu and keep it concise, think about like, the value of the things that you're putting up there. And like, we're creating our own technology right now that kind of like goes along with this. Like, I think that navigation needs to be more dynamic. And so we've built this like plugin that like kind of helps guide people to the right places on the website. Ultimately, I think like being able to like see who they are and try to get them to the right place is the challenge that we all have. And in some cases, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to give them everything and have them make the choice. But I think there's a smarter way of doing that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up because I know we spoke a little bit beforehand on the plugin. Can you kind of going into the nitty gritty, but like what is your hope like for the plugin? Like what do you like? What did you see there was a gap into it, and where you're hoping this plugin that your team is working on that will fulfill?
Well, I hope it's not too unique and different than everything else, because I do think when you whittle it down to what the core is basically just analyzing the paths that people take on your website and comparing them to users that are coming on. So if a user visits like these 3 pages, we can look at all the other, user journeys that came on the site and choose the ones that went to the places we want them to go, and then make recommendations based on that. So it helps the user, because like you could say like, if a user is coming and reading this blog post about this problem, you can make some assumptions that they're trying to go here next, right? So at the core, it's very simple. Where it goes from there is, kind of like from my perspective, up to the users and the people who install it. It's called path.
Right.
And so it's all about like helping guide users, but then also giving marketers on the back end more insights into what's working and what's not working. And so then they can look at the analytics and start to see like, every time somebody goes to this page, they just drop off. It's not maybe something you really want to be recommending to people. You definitely don't want it in your top nav.
Right. So with that and utilizing, Jesse, I'm like, here's now that your team's building out and, with the success from the new plugin, like what would you like to see like ahead in the next 6 to 12 months for Solid Digital to be? Like, what's your vision and your goals?
Okay, so I just want to leverage AI more. I know everybody's saying that, but the truth is like we can build like this Path Pilot plugin that I created. Like I did most of the work in a weekend. Like AI helps us get stuff to market faster. So the more that we can just churn that out and make those, and like, I think that gives us the ability to offer more interactive elements to our clients on our site. And like, that's where I'd like to go. I'd like to be doing more of that. I still, like I said, still care a lot about the brand, still want the design to be, clean and user friendly. But I think there's other things that we can now do that we weren't able to do 3 years ago, unless it would cost like $100,000 for them to do it. And now we could do things in like a matter of weeks and try it out. If it doesn't work, trash it. If it does work, let's see what we can do, to build it out.
And I'm having it to where it was on the side with having to continuously build out for your team and so forth. I know we've talked a little bit about, I'm curious that as for the goals that you're trying to hit and for in the next 6 to 12 that you said in a weekend, like within, that's the whole purpose of like what AI is that I'm realizing, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of, fluff that goes along, but it really, I think the market is really understanding is like, where is the actual, tangible outcomes. And as you said, it's making your team a lot easier and so forth. So with that, like, with your team of going through, how is that played a part? Because I know we spoke a little bit of kind of it shifted more on, and now you really have a good lean team of how it's really effective and so forth. And that implementation of AI, like, really pushed it forward? Has it been more on the culture and how your leadership has really inspired the team? I'm real curious on that. How do you blend that? Does that make sense?
I mean, you could do a lot more with less people now, right? Right. I think that's the bottom line. And like, I get really scared for my friends who own agencies with a ton of people because I know a lot of those people aren't probably that necessary now that AI is around, right? My job is mainly sales, and I've had people on our team that were helping me with just like compiling notes and making sure that like we were capturing the scope correctly to put it to the proposal. And like all of that now is covered by AI. And so like, at one point we were a 33 person agency, and I thought I was going to love it. My goal was always to have this big company. I worked for big agencies. I always liked being part of big teams, the culture there. But I hated running a 33 person agency. There's a lot of personal management that was going on, which isn't a bad thing. It's just like, it's a 32 different people and me. Like it's a lot to deal with.
Right.
Our margins were not great because we're just like taking whatever we could take at that point just to kind of cover our costs. And so, over time we've gotten smaller and smaller. We're back down to like 9 people now, but it's like a core, like trusted group of on our team. And they're all excited and passionate about leveraging AI. And so I think we're able to do more now with 9 people than we did with 33 people. Plus, we get to be choosy about who we work with and what projects we're going to take on, and make sure that it's things that we're really good at. And I guess it just makes you feel happier about what you're doing. And then it also allows you to think more about like a smaller group of, highly engaged clients versus, well, we got to do these 5 projects over here just because we have to pay the bills.
Right. So with that I know we kind of like top it in and, how do you level like on the side? Because I know we discussed it beforehand of, taking the projects where you have to, essentially pay the bills, but to the ones that you're really excited about, that you're really going forward. So it has that been like now the use of AI and so forth else, are you able to like wanting to take on those passion projects, or is it now just it's flowing in more easily, or just I'm curious on how that goes in.
I don't think any agency owner would disagree with me where it's like the best clients are the ones that want to brainstorm with you and, like come to the table with like their own ideas, but then also listen to your ideas. And it feels like we're all, part of the same team, which is, what everybody says. But that's ultimately what jazzes us. Like, because if we can get into the room and we're like, what if we did this? And everybody's excited about it, like, that's awesome. When it's a situation where the customer comes in and says, hey, I need you to do this, and it's got to be exactly like this. In fact, I have this spreadsheet and I want you to just take exactly what's in the spreadsheet and put it on your website. That kind of like kills the vibe, you know? So like, I think it's not necessarily it's picking and choosing the right people. And then those people, like I'm saying clients, like those clients really listening to like what we're saying and us listening to them and coming up with really cool ideas to work on. And that's like, yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. And I think that is on the sub for it. So if we looked at your how I call it, maybe a training montage of like the behind the scenes grind, like just of your unique approach to marketing, how your unique approach to just solid digital as a whole. What did that look like? What is that? How do you kind of keep up what on that side of keeping ahead of like how you move forward, as you said, like you in this vision that you wanted to really produce like solid digital is a great agency, but really thinking as yourself as the leader and like having it like what is that training montage of yours looking like behind the scenes grind? Does that make sense?
I think, yeah, I mean, like if I reworded it, it's kind of like as the leader, how do you give yourself the space to think about things and push things forward? Which I think is a real struggle, especially early on. You are just hustling and you don't have time to like think about where this can go. And so like one of the things, you'll learn as you get older, you add a little more patience to it. You say no more. You give yourself a little bit more thinking space to come back and, hey, I got this idea. If I had 60 clients that I was managing on a daily basis, like across our agency, how could I really give my brain power to all of them in a way that was meaningful? Right? Like that's just not going to happen. But if I have like 4 clients that I understand their business really well, that I've got a personal relationship with them, I understand what problems they're trying to solve, but also understand what problems their customers are trying to solve, then I can spend some time thinking about it. And every once in a while, it's like, hey, you know what? Like maybe we could use this for X client. Like this seems to fit really well for them. And I think like the big agency model, that's a hard thing to accomplish. And, if you're able to produce work at a bigger scale with less people, that seems like the right thing to do.
Without a doubt. And I think that, without a doubt, man, I think and I love that on your side is really, and I'm really in that now is especially as you said, as a founder myself, like it's just going hard, it's just grinding and it's, day in, day out.
You're you're in the early stages.
Right. And it happens to like, as you mentioned it to before, previously, it's like, what are we doing as it goes back to your clients on putting the about us, obviously within context within it, within the nuance, but we need to put the about us and they need to know our history. And I kind of revert back. I was thinking back to how a founder, kind of a leader, as you're going through this entrepreneurial journey, you're building something from scratch. There's so many things that you think you have to do but really, is it really moving the needle? Like, so, for example, for marketing and so forth, else, I need to do the branding, I need to do this, but the key says like, is my campaign, did I run the campaign? Am I getting more leads? Like, that's something that is a needle moving forward. And that's something even as a founder myself is I have to constantly, there's so much getting on and I have to pick just 3, like keep in mind, what are the main 3 things can be that, as you said, agile, like a sprint or something, what's moving forward,
What are your 3 things?
Whew, it is for me, really, it's building out, refining, the vision for the Solinar side. Of course, we have the client acquisition, you have the leads and so forth, but the main 2 I'm really feeling, man. I'm glad you asked, like, it's the vision, really putting forward what, taking away like of the selling, what can I do that's providing a service to the clients that I have now and then moving forward genuinely? Like, where is it? And really, and I love that you had said is taking the time to really look at their business and not thinking of it as a vendor of a service, but as like that partner. And I think that's where you've said that you taking the time to brainstorm and I like your unique approach, man, because it really takes a more personal look and it makes them feel that. So that's one on the vision that I'm trying to do. Of course, it's the client acquisition and really as this podcast and everything is on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what pays the bills. You need to have it
Gotta do
on
it.
the side. But I love that, like, those are like the main 3 things, the vision, client acquisition, and then it's constant on the leads on the marketing, just
Marketing
really
side.
aside.
Yeah.
So, and would
It's
you
a,
say like for yours, was that the for yours on the big three, four solid digital? Like, what would you say yours is, man? Like the big three needles on your side.
well, I think, and like, like, there's no skipping the steps in my opinion. So like, you got to do what you have to do. Like, to get a business off the ground and make it 5 years is incredible accomplishment. And like, there's no shortcuts to just hustling and getting what you need to get done. And so I don't look back on like my first 5 years and I'm like, oh, I made so many mistakes and I wish I had like given myself more time to think about like the things I was doing and where I was headed. Like, no, like, I just had to like, we had to get the work done. Like, for me, for the first 5 years, we didn't really do much marketing. We were just a referral and, built up a reputation within a circle. And we found a lot of opportunities just from, you know, getting the work done and doing it well and just producing quality work. So, but then at a certain point, that kind of dried up and we had to get back to like marketing ourselves. And then it was like a shift to, all right, how do we do marketing? And like, then we got figured that out. And now it's like, well, now we're getting all these leads, but we're not winning them. Like, how do we do sales? So then we had to figure that out. And it was like just this brute force of like getting to a point where all the different things that needed to supply our business, like the nutrients of our business, got to a point where, okay, now we can be choosy and we can kind of think about things more. And so I think like, yeah, what you're doing is great. I mean, like, we have our values. One of our values is just honest guidance. And like, I just think like from a human level, whenever I'm talking to somebody new who's got a problem and they're telling me what their problem is, instead of thinking like, how am I going to solve that problem? Think about, am I the right person to solve that problem? And start from that. Like, because if you can say probably not and tell them why you're going to not necessarily be the right fit, boy, that like immediately gets a bunch of trust from them. And a lot of times, like from my experience, when I tell a client, like, I'm not sure we're the right fit, I think we could do it, but we've never done it before. And the only relevant experience I have is this. A lot of times they're like, I'm willing to try it with you. Like, versus someone who comes in just confident, oh yeah, we've done it a million times. Like, no problem. Just sign the contract, you know? Cause then like I have to search and find out and clarify and get details on like what it is that we need to learn to do the job. And like, if I can prove to a client that I can do that and I can do it effectively, then they're going to be a long time client with me. And every time that they come with a new thing and they say, hey, I don't know if you've done this before or not, but you didn't do the last project before and you knocked it out of the park. Um, you're a trusted partner. But if you come in really super confident, I can kill this, and then you don't deliver, you're screwed.
Yeah, I've key thing is, and I heard one of my mentors say this, as I go through, and I find it true. Like business travels at the speed of trust, so it goes through on no matter what about it is. So even if you make a mistake during, which as you said, it happens. It's part of the game. What it is, even with when you're working with clients, you're gonna make mistakes. But I think it goes about how you approach. So I love of what you said is, I may not be the right fit, or we've made a mistake, but here's the problem. I'm being proactive and letting you know, and then I'm providing a solution. This is what we're working on. This is what it is. And so even when I made mistakes, I'm like on my side with clients, it's making, you're kind of nervous and everything else, but it's bringing it forward, being upfront, being honest, be like, hey, we made this mistake, but this is what we're doing to go around. And I think, as you said, it builds not only trust on that, but shows that, hey, this is an active partner that's being involved. This is what we're doing. And, I love that. Like, and that's what I'm really growing and understanding now.
Like, just try this one time, like with the new client. Just tell them no. Like, but it's got to be honest, true no. Like, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. I'm sorry. Or I'm sorry at this time, we can't take you on. We're not too busy, but like, find a reason that you're not the right fit and see what the reaction is. I could tell you when I legitimately have had to tell people no, I've gotten crazy responses back where like they'll be like, is it a money thing? Because I can try to get more money. I can try to get more budget. Is it a time thing? If we need to extend our deadline, we can extend our deadline. It's like, it's kind of like the girl who says no to you. It's like it goes in your brain. You're like, no. Like, what do you mean, no? Like, no, you're supposed to love me. Yeah. And then you get like, they get obsessed about it. Like, I don't think you can, it's not a manipulation thing. I don't want it to seem like it's a manipulation thing, but I can tell you when I've honestly told people I can't take you on as a client, boy, it changes. Like, they're like, what do you mean? Everybody else really wants me.
So I'm curious on, man, like for that, because I think it's to the it's so a 180 of what you would think on it from. It's because you always wanted to think on,
Yeah, it's
getting the
reverse
client.
psychology. Yeah.
Right, it's reverse psychology on it. So I'm curious, man, when you went through that first time and having it to where you went and you're listening to clients and you're like, I'm curious on like, I'm sure you remember it. Like what went through and like, I know you had to take some time. Let me like walk me through like that process, that time. And you're like, when it happened.
I don't know if it's the first time, but I do remember this startup and they just didn't have the budget for us. And I said, I'm sorry, just like for what you're asking us to do, I can't do it. I can't take it on. I love the idea, but like, it's just not, it's too risky for us. Boy, they were like throwing equity at me. Like they were like, like every 3 months he would just call me out of the blue. He'd be like, hey, we're really struggling still with these like developers and designers that we have. Like, we'd really like to get you guys in here. Like it became this like ongoing kind of like, I don't know, humorous thing where it was just like, they couldn't get us out of their head. Like they were like going to work with us at some point. Like their goal, part of their goal of like success was to be able to work with us, which was like, like that's flattering. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. That's amazing, man. So with that, like, what would you say for like solidation for yourself, Jesse? Like, what if you could solve like one major challenge in the agency world today? Like, what would it be?
I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of challenges. I think, the AI thing is complicated. I think that it's got people questioning what the future is. So, like, I don't know if this is really a direct answer to your question, but I'm going to tell you what's like bothering me right now because the market sucks right now. Like, I think starting this year, people thought like, well, could I bring this in house? Like, could I do this work with AI? Like, how much is AI going to help our business? And I think like that, a lot of CFOs and CMOs like put pauses on stuff that they were going to do with agencies, which I get. And I also see the threat of like, any person who's in front of a computer, like AI could take their job in the next 5 to 10 years, of course. But there's a thing about being, I mean, not to get too lofty, but like being human, like AI doesn't come up with its own projects and plans and ideas and things to do. And, I think that those of us who are adaptable to technology and want to like use new tech to help produce more, like we understand how this is going to be used. And not only that, we can keep the quality and control of like how it's used in a better way. And so like it's not agencies that need, well, I mean, agencies need to adopt AI, but every single agency is like, if they aren't, they're idiots. But clients need to understand that their agency is probably doing stuff behind the scenes that they're not necessarily aware of, that maybe they just need to ask. Maybe we just need to tell them like more. I don't know. But there's that attitude of like, oh, maybe we don't need an agency that I think is misguided. And so that changes. For the most part, like I said, like we're not at risk. We've got good clients that have worked with us for a long time, but like I definitely don't see as many new leads coming in as I used to. And I think like a part of it's also people just not wanting to risk change while things are a little bit up in the air. So
It is.
so stable. We need stability.
I think that's the key word of it. Is just the stability with everything going on in the world.
Yeah. Market. Yeah. Tech, everything. Stability.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah. I think it is going to go off of, as you said, it's just the AI part of it. It's I even spent, it was 2 nights ago. I was using AI, just to help with the business. And I was staying up till 3 a.m. because I was having to constantly work with it. And you have to put in prompt. It's like, that might not be right. So it's a back and forth. That takes time. It's not an immediate, to it. So yes, it helps with the assistant and everything else and going forward. But I believe, and I'm 100% agreeing with you that AI, this is not the killer of jobs. It's not the killer. It's something to help you benefit your team to make things more effective instead of like transcribing for meetings, having it to be able to do these admin tasks so your team can be able to maybe brainstorm more and, think on more. So 100% so on it, man. Go ahead.
It's just a better encyclopedia, right? Like we used to have encyclopedias, like that was our knowledge base. And then I remember when encyclopedia salespeople used to come around to our doors. Like then the internet blew up and we have all of this information at our fingertips, but it still took time to find that information. Now we're just able to get that information faster and we're able to have that information be actionable, which is crazy. I mean, AI is just the most insane, awesome tech that I've ever used. It is the coolest, but that's not to say that it can just come in and take over everything, but it's going to make our lives better, I think. And I think it's going to make us be able to do more stuff. So, you better get familiar with it. I think that's the bottom line. And then it'll all balance out. That we'll get that stability of how this all interacts with each other, just like we did with everything else. What did the encyclopedia salespeople do when the internet came around? They had to find something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that point of kind of figuring out. I love I never even thought of it as a encyclopedia, but that's a really good analogy for that, on that side. So with that, because I know we're, to wrap up, what would you say now with the whole AI, if you had a magic wand like Jesse and having it to whether it's the business side, whether for Solid Digital or just for yourself, if it was Chat GPT 8, 9, what would you love for it to do to make your job or to make the business better? What would you think?
I mean, it's weird because I have built this business around websites, but I also kind of see this future where necessarily websites aren't going to exist like they do now.
Yeah.
I think it should be about solving problems and connecting people to, where they need to go. And so if there's more ability for us to leverage AI, if I could go into ChatGPT and say, okay, here's my problem. I know that I can't solve it. I got to hire somebody. Let's figure this out. And then it's talking to a brand's, Chat GPT version or whatever, and kind of laying out, here's the things that I'm looking for. What do you got? What don't you have? And they're honest with each other. So it's it could come back and be okay, well, I'm talking to this Chat GPT over here and it's saying this. I think it might be worth looking into. And then versus, going to a website or even looking at a billboard or whatever, where it's well, this is obviously trying to sell me something. I need just an honest a solution to the problem that I'm trying to solve. And then maybe that can allow us to distribute where work goes more evenly than all, everything's at Google, everything's at Microsoft. We have to I don't know, there's so many smart people out in the world. We all have cool ideas. The more that we can create those ideas and it helps our lives, globally, that's awesome. So, one of the things that the web did for small businesses is it gave them an even playing field. And I'd love to have AI do that for small businesses as well. I don't know how that works out, and I can't obviously predict the future, but like that's what I would love for it to do
Yeah.
if I had
No,
that magic wand.
right. I know. I love that because it's to keep it to where not the big businesses, like where you want. That's what makes it more effective, as you said. That independence. There's so many smart and creative people, and sometimes they just don't know the how, or they don't know what they don't know. So hopefully the AI part can help them to figure out, to help them build, be that assistant, be that partner to help them grow. So I love that side, man. Kind of on a side, I appreciate like Jesse, you coming on. This is a great conversation and just really just your unique approach, just not even to the marketing, but the solid digital, how you go forward and just your insights into it, man. So
Solomon.
thanks for coming on the
Yeah,
show.
thank you.
Where
It's been fun.
yeah, thanks. So for the audience, if they wanted to learn more about solid digital, like of some of the projects that you guys have done, or just for yourself, if they wanted to kind of follow your story, where can they find you at?
Yeah, I mean, soliddigital.com. I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm not the best at social media, but like Jesse at soliddigital.com. Email me. I'm always happy to chat with people. Like these kind of conversations are what make it so much more enjoyable. Like being in the position I'm in.
For sure.
I mean, like, not that I'm in like this lofty position or anything, but it's just like, like I like talking shop. Like one of the reasons why I love like being a business owner and being around other business owners is like, we used to go to like parties in the neighborhood, and like the dads would all just talk about like their kids' sports teams and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hated it. Just like, I don't have anything to add to this. So I love talking shop. If you're just starting a business, if you've been doing business for a long time, like I'm always up for an awesome conversation.
Oh man. And then I loved it too, because even it doesn't matter. I think that's what you said just on. It doesn't matter like what industry specifically in, the whole goal is, how are we providing value? Of course, the business is all about, how are we, scaling, how are we growing, but like how we provide value, what are our stories and what we've learned. And we're all on the same thing. It's just different roads to the journey, so I love that, man.
I have so much in common with, all different types of business owners than I do like, non-business owners. It doesn't matter what industry you're in or what you're doing. Like there's a lot to talk about. Cool.
Thanks for coming on. So for the audience, if you tuned in to the whole time, thanks so much for tuning in. Just giving through. So we'll have it there to learn more about Solid Digital. We'll catch you next time on the next episode of the AI Advantage. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Solomon.
Thanks for tuning in to the AI Advantage. If this episode sparked an idea, share it with your network. Subscribe for more no-fluff conversations on how smart tech drives real outcomes. And if you're ready to future-proof your business, let's connect at solonox.net.